Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Environmental Social Justice. Today, we have a very special guest. We have Mr. John Williams. He is the CEO and chairman of a company called Autocase, along with Simon Fowell. He is the principal economist for Autocase. So, Autocase, what is that? It is a cost-benefit analysis tool used in the design-build industry, and it's to translate the impacts of the triple bottom line into metrics. Could you explain what that means, John?
I'm gonna take it down to a crude level. We answer the question, "What's in it for me?" That every building or infrastructure project faces early on in planning and early stage design. Project stakeholders want to know, what is that building going to give me in terms of value? Is it going to give me economic value? Is it going to give me social returns on investment? Is it going to give me environmental returns on investment? Autocase automates those analyses along with life cycle cost analysis and complete carbon analysis for buildings. And we have other services that we provide for infrastructure.
And today we're going to talk about something very special, which is the environmental justice aspect and the social justice aspect. So before we dive deep into that, could you guys go into a little bit of the high-level vision, importance to the design industry, and how the stakeholders are involved, things like that?
I'm going to start off, and then Simon will give you the accurate answer. But the reason we got involved with it, our team at Autocase, we were invited by the American Institute of Architects, or AIA Large Firm Roundtable, to create a tool that could be used in early stage design to help do a better job when it comes to delivering on social and environmental justice outcomes for building projects. And the Large Firm Roundtable included firms like HOK, Stantec, DLR, Quinn Evans, and Jacobs. They were all sponsors of this project. We built the tool, but they helped to pay for it. And we were guided through the process with input from the NAACP's Centering Equity in the Sustainable Building Sector program, as well as NOMA, the National Organization of Minority Architects. So we're grateful to all of them. And what we're really talking about today is a gift to the design and the community organizing industry. And it's free and it's excellent. And the more people that use it, the more valuable it becomes. So we just introduced this tool last week. And so far we've had nearly 1,000 visits to the tool website by about 100 discrete users. So in a week, we've got that kind of a response. I think it's a great indication of the need within our industry for something like this. But as I said, I'm joined by Simon Fowler, our principal economist, and he was actually the lead for this project, working with all these other players. Simon, could you tell us more about the tool?
Yeah,
Is that okay if I ask him that question, Wendy?
Of course. No, I love this.
Thanks.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to be the project lead on this one, and yeah, it really is, as John said, it came about from these large architecture and engineering firms, their sustainability leads coming from about 2 years ago, really saying, what can we do for environmental justice and social equity? How can we build a tool to help within create more like system-wide change? And I think they realize that they don't have the in-house expertise to build software a lot of the times, and a lot of them are existing clients of ours through the Autocase tool. So they came to us and said, what can we do together to build a tool? And I think what we released last week is, we're really proud of it, and so far we're getting a great response. And I'm happy to kind of explain some more of the features and actually show it on screen if that would be useful.
I would love that. I mean, I had the pleasure of seeing it. I had a little sneak preview, and your data is phenomenal. It's easily read, easily used, but it's phenomenal. So yeah, please share away.
Okay.
While Simon's pulling it up on the screen, Wendy, every new building project begins with a scope of work that says collect data. And the architect or the planning firm spends a lot of time going out trying to figure out where's the data that relates to this particular building site. And what Simon's going to show you is a tremendous shortcut in that data gathering process. Sorry about that, Simon.
No, that's a really good setup there. And just so if anybody wants to go and visit the site, so the tool is called the Building Environmental Justice Tool, and you can access it here. We've created a bit of a shorter URL, ejtoolkit.com. As John mentioned, it's free to anybody who wants to use it, so you don't have to pay. So just as a high level of what the tool does, we created 4 modules. One is a project tool. So it's a project-based tool that, as John mentioned, collects data, but also provides this interactive questionnaire that asks a series of questions for project teams to assess how well they've incorporated environmental justice or social equity into a project. We also have a kind of a matchmaking module, or 2 matchmaking modules, because a really big part of this was design teams were telling us they don't have access to the practitioners and community advocates on the ground. And the NAACP members were also saying the same thing, that they want better access and transparency to projects and design teams. So we created these 2 modules where design teams and people creating projects can find people, and people can find projects, so that there's this matchmaking.
Is this for people to get hired for the job, or community advocates to get involved, or both?
Yeah, it's like a way for community advocates who might have local knowledge to get involved more formally on a project and provide expertise for a fee. So we're not asking for volunteer time, or project teams aren't asking for volunteers. They're asking for expert services that they're willing to pay for on this. So
that's wonderful.
Yeah, that's hopefully a way for that bridge building to happen. So we've got the project tool, the 2 matchmaking modules, and then a resources module that provides other frameworks, other tools, because there are lots of other great tools out there, and organizations as well. So just to really very quickly here show you the project tool, I've created a couple here. So you just put in your location, and as John mentioned, we bring up a bunch of location-specific data that often might take hours or potentially days to try and fetch. So we're getting,
and so easy to use.
Yeah, I think what we tried to do is, or what we heard from the industry and the stakeholders in our steering committee, was that a lot of this data is often inaccessible or not easy to read. So we tried to say, okay, what is that raw data? But then how does it actually compare to, let's say, the national average? Where does it rank? So it gives you a bit of context around that as well.
So this gives you like the average housing cost, the average. This is really impressive.
Yeah, and then this is one of my favorite pieces here, is we're tapping into future climate change data as well to say, how much rainfall can you expect? How many days over 90 degrees Fahrenheit can you expect?
Oh, that's fantastic for building, so you can plan ahead.
And then Climate Check, I want to give them a shout out as well. They have this free climate risk widget. So we're using some of their data for this. But then here, I think this is my favorite feature of the tool. It's the Amenity Tab, where you can say, well, what is within walking distance of my project site? And we're tapping into OpenStreetMap data to say what kind of amenities are within, or maybe lacking within the project. So it gives you a sense of where these different asset deserts are.
Could I make a comment about this particular example, Simon?
Yeah, of course.
So again, Simon has inputted a very specific location. You can see there. Yeah. And what you see on the right in that column is the frequent use of the word none. Okay. This could be a picture of what we refer to as an infrastructure desert.
Okay. So lack of services, lack of restaurants.
Lack of services or an environmental justice neighborhood, a neighborhood that has not had the benefit of the kind of facilities or services required to really thrive.
Yeah. And important to know and to point out. Yeah.
I mean, I think this is so important. Thank
Yeah.
you.
No, I think that's really important to point out. And I mean, this is just the first bit of the tool. So there's that data gathering aspect, but then we're actually leveraging this US Green Building Council social equity questionnaire that they created. And what we did was we're putting that into tool form. So it's an interactive questionnaire where people can start to input or answer questions around how equitable their project team is, how equitable the process or the design, or even the kind of the supply chain of where they're resourcing things are. So you
Very
can
important.
start to go in, answer questions, and add in extra detail, and start to justify yes or no. Are we doing the right thing here?
Is it fair, Simon, to say that, if you're a practitioner, say you're a young architect and you've not taken any courses on social or environmental justice, if you go through these tools a few times, I imagine you're going to learn how to be a social or environmental justice practitioner. Is that a fair assumption?
I think this is a good starting point for sure. This is one of those subjects where the more you unearth, the more you realize you don't know as much as you need to. And I mean, this is why we also have these resources here, because there's plethora of great organizations, and we're not the only tool that does provides free tools. So I mean, I want to just give these other tools a shout out as well. Like we've collected a whole bunch of other resources here that people can go to, because we did have a limited budget, and we've done the best we can, but there's so much else out there to go and find. So
no, and you said it was, for a young architect. I would think that anyone who's learning about social justice could benefit from this, because it's very clear where you see inadequacies.
But Simon, users can add tools, right, or add resources to the platform.
Not yet, but that's something that we're wanting to do, is almost have it like an organic living directory that people can either add their own resources or own data. I did forget to show this one, which I think is really important to the topic in the first place. And there's a really good resource on redlining and being able to map historical redlining, but for some reason it's taking a bit of time to load on this one.
This is a good opportunity to discuss what redlining means in case somebody doesn't understand what that is.
John, I don't know if you want to take the first crack at that. But yeah, this is kind of the way that banks or mortgage rating agencies used to score different neighborhoods, and oftentimes it's the neighborhoods that had a lot of people of color that were rated poorly, and you can kind of, there's a tool here that gives you information on each neighborhood and its historical context around redlining. And I think if you go into some of the more recent mapping tools from the EPA, like the EJ Screen tool, you'll notice that there's a large correlation between ones that are labeled red here and ones that are rated as kind of environmental justice disadvantaged communities in the more recent tools.
And Simon, when I was in college, redlining was still a very common practice. And so you might have had neighborhoods or a community of color, for instance, that were redlined by the banking institutions. And that action of redlining the community had a result of furthering the isolation of the community, because people wouldn't invest in those neighborhoods, and the communities more and more became separated from other communities who had the benefit of amenities and resources. Just made the situation worse.
It's also where a lot of companies would put in power plants or highly polluting equipment. So it was a form of discrimination that we are pulling away from. And I appreciate that you guys have this in your tool book so people can see where that was to maybe promote these areas and help them build back and be better.
And actually, that's what the environmental justice movement is partially about. It's how do we correct the decisions that were problematic in the past, and how do we do a better job going forward, particularly for communities that don't have a lot of political power.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad you said that, because it does come down to politics and money at the end of the day. So this is a way for people to, and it's such an easy, I mean, I just cannot stress how easy this tool is. I can even use it. And it's just, you just put in your address or the location you're looking into, and a ton of data comes up in a very easy to read format. So, I mean, yes, I'm a fan. Yes, I highly recommend it. What can we expect for the future and you know, the legacy and the updates that you guys have, because you guys are constantly evolving this. This is not one and done. This is a continuation.
John, do you want to go first?
Well, I have to confess to our audience, Simon is the project lead. I am a user now, and I have my own personal aspirations as a design professional. As a user, I can only say what I wish would show up in this tool over time. One of them being, right now, it's the building EJ tool. And I wish that at some point in time, it's building an infrastructure EJ tool. So vertical construction for buildings, horizontal construction for infrastructure. And I hope that we have a chance in the coming months, perhaps to find other partners who have an interest in bringing more civil engineering perspectives and tools to the table to make this something that really is truly good for the built environment. And then there's one other thing. Simon tells me that the tool already has something called a community partnership agreement available amongst the resources, which is a great thing. He can talk more about that. But I'm hoping that at some point we include a draft community equity agreement, which is a legal document that basically says for this project that has a 20-year life, for instance, or a 50-year life, here are the benefits that the project sponsor is going to guarantee to the neighborhood, not just construction jobs, but positive benefits that serve that neighborhood over the life of the investment. So Simon, I'm gonna lobby you to get that into this document whenever you can. But what are your aspirations?
Yeah, I think that's definitely one of the routes that I think would be great to take it down is to do for horizontal infrastructure. I think we've already had a bit of interest for this to be outside of the US. So right now, the main data dashboard is very US centric. So being able to maybe expand that to Canada, or we've had people from the UK ask us for expansion there, and it's only just been out for a week or two, so that's nice to hear. The other aspect, I think, from the stakeholder and steering committee engagement was design teams and kind of the community advocacy side want to know the impacts, as John was mentioning there. What are the impacts going to be? So having a way for the tool to almost calculate some of those metrics or outcomes that could be that could happen from design decisions. So if we put in this bit of vegetation or we electrify, what are the impacts on health or EJ focused metrics? So that's a bigger task than what we've created, but I think a worthwhile one.
But Simon, for now, those types of metrics, the economic metrics, many of them can be calculated via Autocase software, totally separate from this product.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, again, this is the free product for the environmental justice. And that is a gift to society. The fact that this is being offered to anyone in the design build, anyone in general who just wants to know what environmental justice means, what social justice means, and how to better our neighborhoods, make them, thrive. And, again, I believe in addition to the redline, you also have Native American communities outlined as well. If I recall correctly, I was playing around with your database. a huge amount of data. I mean, the sourcing of that had to have been massive, just to be able to consolidate that much information.
Yeah, we managed to go out and find a lot of the kind of tools that have this data publicly available, and bring it into one place. So we're lucky to have a really great development team. So the people who put my crazy thoughts into actual tool form. So I want to make sure that they get due credit here, because without them, like, we wouldn't be able to have put some of this.
Engineers are magical.
Yeah. So I mean, this is the map of native lands that we're able to link into the tool. So yeah, lots of good stuff to explore in here for sure.
Yeah, I highly recommend that you guys check this thing out, because it's remarkable. What you guys are doing is remarkable. I think it's a game changer for not just, the design industry and the building industry, but as you said, with infrastructure and, the sustainability initiatives happening, which is Envision, which you and I talked about earlier, the certificate program. Mm-hmm. This is remarkable. I'm obviously raging about this because it's so fantastic. How can people find you?
Yep. So they can find us either just by searching building EJ tool. I think we come up in Google search now. Okay. But if you want to go directly, it's just ejtoolkit.com. Oh,
that's super simple. ejtoolkit.com. Yeah. Easily memorable. That's so smart. Some people have very long email addresses, like mine. And it's a little hard sometimes. So that's very smart that you did that. Any final words before we close out for the day?
I want to end with thanks to you, Wendy, for inviting us. I want to thank the American Institute of Architects, the Large Firm Roundtable, our sponsors, our collaborators at the NAACP and NOMA. And I especially want to thank my colleague, Simon, who's the person who really came up with this and kept it on track. He's done a phenomenal job, along with the developers and the research team that support him. So thank you, Simon.
Happy to do it.
Well, thank you both. This has been very educational, and I love what you're doing. And just so the audience knows, we're going to have these guys back for 2 more episodes, because not only do they have the environmental justice tool, but Autocase, their tool, is a game changer as well. So there's so much to discuss. I broke this out into actually 3 interviews. So stay tuned. These guys are having more interviews coming up. On that, guys, I thank you both. Have a wonderful day, and we will catch you in a couple weeks.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks.
Take care. Bye-bye.